Hey guys, how you doing? This is Michael from MMA Night and Day. Here to bring you the first segment of MMA INSIGHT. This is a fan's perspective of what's going on in MMA. Now, we're going to start off the first episode of this, and I'm going to start off with talking about Tyron Woodley. Now, before I even get into Tyron Woodley, let me start this off by saying I was a huge fan of Tyron Woodley's. I absolutely loved watching Tyron Woodley fight. I was let's say he was one of my favorite fighters in the 170-pound division. But what happens is Tyron Woodley gets a fight with Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks pulls out, and Tyron Woodley sits out for 2 years waiting for a title shot. Now, right there, that was the first situation to where I was like a little put off by Tyron Woodley, because I'm like, come on, man. Like, you're powerful, you're fast, you have great wrestling. Like, he hits like a Mack truck. I just feel that he could have fought and actually deserved the title shot, as opposed to just, sitting out for a few years and just waiting for a title shot to be handed to him like he was entitled. But nevertheless, he gets the title shot. Now he fights Robbie Lawler, who's another one of my all-time favorites in that division. I kind of took Tyron Woodley to win that fight. I didn't think that he would win the way that he did, but nevertheless, I thought that he had a great shot to win that fight. Tyron Woodley puts Robbie to sleep in no time. Very impressive. I was really, really big on Tyron at that point. I was like, wow, this guy's really the real deal. Then you look at his next fight against Wonder Boy. Now, he fights Wonder Boy. Me personally, I felt Wonder Boy won the first fight at UFC 205. Could have went either way, but nevertheless, they call it a draw. And Tyron Woodley starts to get this, I don't know, some type of thought in his head, like he was just, everybody was out to get him. Me personally, like I said, I felt that Wonder Boy won that fight, but they called it a draw. I can understand that. I wasn't mad about that. So then, when they started talking about the Wonder Boy rematch, and he was saying, Wonder Boy really didn't deserve it and all that, that was the second time that I was like, wow, like this guy's really starting to get on my nerves. And then he was using, all the racism, saying all that. Like, I mean, it just, so much was just getting me to where I was like, why is this guy getting under my skin? But nevertheless, he went ahead and fought Wonder Boy again. The second fight was nothing like the first. I mean, he put out this big thing of, oh, don't blink, and this is going to be, this is going to be a battle, we're going to go to war, and you did nothing. Like, literally. Wonder Boy wasn't much better in that fight. I, however, did have it 3-2 Wonder Boy, but like I said, once again, another one of them fights to where you want to give Woodley the win. Fine by me. Wonder Boy didn't do much to impress me that fight, so that's one of them instances where, you have to beat the champ to beat a champ. Did I feel that he actually beat him? No. Do I feel that he won the fight, like by points? Yes, but slightly. But then we move on, and he fights Damian Maia. Now, you fight Damian Maia, and you do absolutely nothing. He did negate the takedown. He did not allow Damian Maia to take him down, which Damian Maia was taking everybody down. A lot of people was saying, Tyron Woodley's huge and all that. And if people don't remember, Damian Maia fought at 85. Damian Maia is a giant at 170. So it was impressive of what Woodley did as far as not allowing Damian Maia to take him down. But come on, man. I mean, you did absolutely nothing in that fight. He gets the win, which I felt he deserved. He definitely won the fight. I'll give him that. But think back when he was, right before, when he was fighting Wonder Boy for the second time, he started talking about Wonder Boy's resume, and he's saying, oh, you fought a Johnny Hendricks that wasn't the Johnny Hendricks of old. If you think about it, when Wonderboy fought Johnny Hendricks, he was only one fight removed from the title. So that was still the Johnny Hendricks that we knew. Wonderboy just made him look less than Johnny Hendricks. I kind of feel that Wonderboy's the one that demoralized Johnny Hendricks and actually turned him into what he is now. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was something else. I mean, I understand Johnny was having a lot of problems with the weight cuts and stuff like that, but nevertheless, Wonderboy destroyed him. Now, like I said, Tyron Woodley was supposed to fight Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks didn't fight. Don't quote me on this, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe Johnny Hendricks' next fight after the whole Woodley mishap was Wonderboy. So how are you going to talk about Wonderboy fighting a Johnny Hendricks that wasn't the Johnny Hendricks of old, but you were just supposed to fight him? And when you didn't fight him, you sat out for 2 years, while Wonderboy went ahead and was just running through the division. I mean, he was just beating, person after person, from Jake Ellenberger to Johnny Hendricks, and, the list goes on. He beat Rory McDonald right before Rory left. I mean, Wonderboy was just running through the division, so I felt that he earned his title shot. But now you have Woodley, right from the jump after the Wonderboy fight, he was calling for GSP, he was calling for Nick Diaz. GSP hasn't fought in 4 years. Now, granted, GSP just came back and won the middleweight title, so you could tell GSP's still GSP, but nevertheless, you're asking for a guy that was out for 4 years. Then you're asking for Nick Diaz, who was out for almost the same length of time, hasn't fought in forever. And honestly, I don't remember the last time Nick Diaz won a fight. He didn't win the Anderson Silva fight. He didn't win the GSP fight. He didn't win the Carlos Condit fight. So, what did he really do to deserve a title shot? But he was talking that he wanted that fight. He wants, quote-unquote, a money fight. As Dana White said, you're not a money fighter. You don't bring in the revenue that like a Conor McGregor does. That's another one. He started asking for the Conor McGregor fight. Now, no, don't get me wrong. After everything that happened backstage at 205, it kind of made sense, and I thought that that was where they were going to go with it. I do, however, feel that Woodley would beat Conor McGregor. But you're talking about a guy that was fighting at 45, came up and fought at 55, fought the 2 fights with Nate Diaz at 70, and didn't even reach 170 in either fight. So the guy's a very, very small 70. Very small. You're a big 70. And you're trying to pick fights with him. Then, now you're asking for fights with Nate Diaz, which, once again, Nate Diaz lost his last fight. Before that, he did beat Conor McGregor, but he only has, 3 fights at 70? 4 total, maybe, including the McGregor fights. I'm absolutely certain there's no more than 5. I should have done my homework before this and written it down, but I'm just going off of the head here. I do believe that Nate Diaz does not have, I'm certain that he doesn't have more than 5 fights at 170. But you're asking for a title fight with Nate Diaz, who is so much smaller than you. He's a natural 55er. Nate Diaz is not deserving of a title shot at 170 at all. But you have a guy who I absolutely despise. Now, do not get me wrong here. I do not like this man at all. But Colby Covington, I have to take my hat off to him. I really do. The guy has been winning. He's just been rolling off win after win. He just went into Brazil and fought Damian Maia. And literally destroyed Damian Maia. Now, once again, Tyron Woodley says, oh, well, I laid out the blueprint on how to beat Damian Maia. Okay, what blueprint? Because Colby Covington did nothing that you did. He stopped the takedown, and you were saying, oh, he was getting outstruck by a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Where? The first couple rounds, yes, they were trading shots back and forth. But if you think about it, I mean, Damian Maia by the third round. He was done. Absolutely done. So how can you say that, he was getting outstruck? Colby Covington put pressure on him the entire fight, stopped the takedown the entire fight, and just literally was just putting hands on him the whole fight. I mean, he went ahead and beat Damian Maia in Brazil. Now, excuse my language, I think Colby Covington's an asshole, but nevertheless, the guy is winning fights. This man has been calling you out constantly, saying that he destroyed you in the gym, saying that you didn't pay your coaches, saying this, saying that, just doing everything to demean you and demoralize you and do everything that he could possibly do to talk bad about you. And you go ahead on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani and start talking about people in the division that you would fight, and you're rolling off names, and you say, oh, well, Cowboy Cerrone would have been a fun fight, but he just lost. Who else did he say? Oh, Jorge Masvidal would have been a good fight, but he just lost. Damian Maia, nobody wants to see that again. You already beat Wonder Boy, and you fought him twice, so nobody wants to see that again. You went through every name except Colby Covington. Now, granted, I understand that you don't like the guy. I don't like the guy neither. I think him pressing charges on Verdum for hitting him with a boomerang, like, come on, man, you're a fighter. You are a fighter. I'm not a professional fighter. Hell, I'm not even an amateur fighter. I just train MMA. And if Verdum would have did something like that to me, I would have at least defended myself, got my ass kicked, whatever. But I would have never ran to no cops and went ahead and pressed charges. Especially, he didn't even hit you. He threw a boomerang at you. Now, Verdum saying he slapped the phone out of his hand. He's saying he punched him. Verdum saying you threw a kick at him and he checked it. Whatever happened. It wasn't no serious altercation to the point to where you should be running to the cops. You're putting that man's livelihood in jeopardy. I mean, the guy could be fined where you're taking food out of his family's mouth. The guy could be suspended. Like, just, you don't know what's going to happen in this situation. It's just a bad situation that you provoked, Colby. I mean, Colby Covington 100% provoked it. You don't go into another person's country and start calling the country filthy animals and all that stuff. I mean, listen, you want to talk about your opponent, talk about your opponent all you want, but you don't go and disrespect somebody else's country and then expect to just walk around freely like nobody's going to want to do anything. I mean, them people in Brazil probably wanted to blow your head off, let alone hit you with a boomerang. And you're worrying about Fabricio Verdum throwing a boomerang at you? Like, come on, man. But either way, regardless of that, Colby Covington's been winning fights. He has been winning fights, so you got to give the man his credit in that perspective. Now, you look at Tyron Woodley, while he's sitting there rolling all these names off his tongue on who he would fight, and, Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz, don't be scared, homie, and all the names that I just said that he spoke. I mean, I just don't understand it. You ran through every name except Colby Covington like he's undeserving of a title shot, which I don't see how. I mean, the guy has a nice winning streak. I don't know if there's anybody in the welterweight division right now that has a longer winning streak than he has. And definitely nobody that's within the top 5. I mean, the guy's there. Give him a shot. He should be next in line. Now you're talking about getting a shoulder surgery. Every move that you've been making since you sat out for those 2 years have been questionable. Now, granted, you did take the fight with Wonder Boy. You did take the fight with Damian Maia. So I give you your respect there. But you had excuses on every one of them. I mean, you just sound like you're doing nothing but complaining, Tyron Woodley. Do you understand how powerful you are, how fast you are? You have really good striking, awesome takedown defense, great takedowns. I mean, granted, I've never seen your jiu-jitsu like on display. But for the most part, you're a freak athlete. You should not be looking for excuses for not to fight people. You should fight who the UFC puts in front of you, build a nice winning streak, and as you build your winning streak, then people will start to notice your name and say, wow, this guy's really a monster. Then you'll start to get those names that you're asking for. Then maybe they'll think about giving you a GSP. Maybe they'll think about giving you a Nick Diaz, which I don't know why you would want to fight somebody like that anyway, but maybe they will. Either way, win fights. Go out there and fight who's in the top 5. Fight who's the top contenders. Stop worrying about just making money. If you win fights, you will make money. All these people trying to be McGregor and trying to sit there and, run their mouths, and you sound like fools. A lot of them, it's not genuine. You can see it. Basically, like when Conor McGregor did it with Eddie Alvarez. Now, I'm from Philadelphia, but I'm not being biased here. I felt that Eddie handled the situation perfectly. He wasn't trying to be something he's not. He wasn't trying to trash talk with him. He was responding, trying to defend himself. Certain things that he said was, a little corny, I guess you can say, but nevertheless, Eddie was just saying what he needed to say just to defend himself. He wasn't trying to be Conor McGregor. He wasn't trying to trash talk. You see all these guys nowadays trying and forcing it, and it just sounds so terrible. When you see Colby Covington doing cutting little promos like he's in the WWE, going chaos. Like, come on, man. Like, you sound like a fool, a real fool. Stop it. Go out there, fight, win fights. Let's get the UFC back to where number 1 contenders fight champions. Let's get the UFC back to where the best fight the best. Not the best try to fight number 15 or number 13. Not trying to discredit Michael Bisping. I mean, the guy's a warrior, but his title run may have been the worst in the UFC history. And, I mean, just look at what happened. The guy just fought GSP, got dropped, got choked out. 3 weeks later, which he shouldn't have been fighting, but nevertheless comes back, fights Kelvin Gastelum. Gets knocked out by Kelvin Gastelum. But he's also going ahead and saying, oh, Chris Weidman beat Kelvin Gastelum. He's a glorified 170er who's just fighting at 85. Like, come on, man. Chris Weidman went out there. Chris Weidman did what he needed to do, and Chris Weidman won that fight. You fight him right after that happened, and you got knocked out, Michael Bisping. And I'm a fan of Michael Bisping. I love Michael Bisping. But just saying, like, he beat Luke Rockhold, which was very impressive. I actually won money on that fight. I had under, but I won. But he knocks out Luke Rockhold. Then you go and you fight Dan Henderson, which I do understand the UFC offered you that fight. Everybody was saying that, oh, you went and fought this man. UFC offered it to you. You took it. I understand. But you had a really, really close decision with Dan Henderson at like almost 50 years old. Dan Henderson could have won that fight. I actually think I did have him winning, or if not, maybe either way, Dan Henderson clearly won 2 rounds of that 5-round fight. Clearly. I thought he won 3, but the judges in Manchester, or in England, gave Michael Bisping the decision. That's basically another Matt Hamill fight. Hey, it is what it is. For anybody that knows their MMA, they know that when Michael Bisping fought Matt Hamill, he did not win that fight. But in England, they gave him the decision. Same situation with the Dan Henderson fight. I just thought the Dan Henderson fight was a little closer than the Matt Hamill fight. But either way, very close decision with Dan Henderson. Then you fight GSP, who was not a contender, and you lost. Now, listen, man, that right there, you fought 2 people that are not contenders. You could have fought Yoel Romero. You could have fought Robert Whittaker. Now, granted, Robert Whittaker was hurt this time. Robert Whittaker had to pull out, so you went ahead and fought GSP. I understand that. I mean, listen, you're at the end of your career, get your money, all respect to you, I get it. But nevertheless, you didn't fight a contender. And the first time you fought somebody who's considered somewhat of a contender in Kelvin Gastelum, you got knocked out. So I just look at that title run, and I just see that it's just not an impressive title run. And for the UFC to just allow things like that to happen, you're stirring the pot, because now you have, like, first it was the Conor McGregor situation where he's jumping from division to division, and then you have him going and boxing and doing things like that. Now he may never fight again. Who knows? Now he's punching 50-year-olds in bars and jumping in Bellator cages and smacking employees and jumping in the open guard. Like, I don't know. He's jumping guard with teammates. I don't know. Conor McGregor's losing his mind, but we'll talk about that on another day. But either way, you have things like this going on to where the lightweight division's held up. He had the featherweight division held up. Michael Bisping had the middleweight division held up. John Jones in the light heavyweight division. That guy's a train wreck. Now you got Daniel Cormier, who I feel bad for in that situation. I'm a huge DC fan. I love John Jones, but I'm a huge DC fan. That guy's awesome. And a lot of people don't like him. I don't get it. Daniel Cormier's what you want in a champion. He fights number one contenders, one after another. The man doesn't run. He doesn't back down. He allows fans to pick who he's going to fight next. Like, the guy's a champion through and through. It's not his fault that he's natural and, other people are doing other things. I mean, listen, it is what it is. But aside from Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic, who else do you have that's actually fighting number one contenders? I mean, Max Holloway, yes. 35, TJ Dillashaw's been doing it the entire time. But even there, you gave Cody Garbrandt a title shot. He was ranked number 8. Like, he wasn't even in the top 5. And then at 25, you have Demetrius Johnson, who's fighting contenders. But now you have somebody who, he's another one. He wants to make money. TJ Dillashaw is willing to go down, willing to fight him, and he's looking for every excuse not to fight him. Oh, he should win a fight first. He wasn't a champion. Well, now he's a champion, and they're talking about champion on champion, where you'll actually make money on a fight like that, to where you have champion versus champion, and now you're saying, oh, well, maybe they should do a money belt or something like that. Why? That's not a money fight. You comparing yourself to a Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather is just ludicrous. You had one of the worst selling pay-per-views in the UFC history when you headline pay-per-views. And, I mean, how can you consider that a money fight? Well, not a money fight, but how could you say we should have a money belt and meet at 30? No. He wants to go down to 25, fight him for your title. If you're the best in the world and you're the pound-for-pound king, as everybody says that you are, and you believe you're the best in the world, then you fight the best that's put in front of you. He is a champion from another division who you said previously in Montreal, when you both were sitting there with the Canadiens jerseys on, you said, yes, you would fight him. And now the man is willing to come down to your division to fight you, and you're looking for every excuse in the world. You're talking about Sergio Pettis. Oh, Sergio Pettis is the number one contender right now. Sergio Pettis has already booked to fight Henry Cejudo, and there's no telling if he's going to win that fight. You didn't mention Henry at all. You just said Sergio Pettis is the number one contender. If Sergio loses to Henry, then what? You beat Henry, you beat Joe B, you beat John Dodson, who's not even in the division anymore, but you ran through the entire division. Now you have some fresh blood in TJ Dillashaw, who's willing to come down to your weight class and fight you at your weight class for your title, and you can make more money in the process, and you're looking for every excuse not to do it. You and TJ Dillashaw, DJ and TJ, is reminding me a lot of the Tyron and Colby Covington. Tyron stating, oh, if Nate Diaz doesn't accept the fight, then I'm going to get shoulder surgery. Why? You have somebody that's willing to fight you in your division. That's on a winning streak. That's in the top 5. Fight your fights. Fight your fights, earn your money, and at a later date, you'll start to make what you're supposed to make, and you'll be deserving of them money fights. Right now, you defended your title 3 times. One was a draw, which a lot of people thought you lost. The second one, you won, but a lot of people thought you lost. And your third fight, I fell asleep on. I woke up the next morning to find out that you won that fight. I really didn't, but you get my point. Either way, Tyron Woodley, please. You're a great athlete, man. I enjoy watching you fight when you fight. Go back to the Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley. Go back to that guy. If Colby Covington can do what he did to Damian Maia, you should have been able to do that too. And if you can't, then you shouldn't be a champion. You're playing it safe to continue to hold your belt. You're not going out there and fighting to win fights. You're going out there to win by points. You're not putting it on the line. You're not fighting like a true champion. You're not fighting like a Chuck Liddell in his prime, Dan Henderson in his prime, Rampage Jackson in his prime, Matt Hughes in his prime. You're not fighting like these fighters. BJ Penn in his prime. You're not one of those. So to consider yourself and say, oh, I'm the greatest welterweight of all time, you're not even close to GSP. And especially GSP when GSP was, right after he got armbarred by Matt Hughes and came out and was knocking people out and hitting people with spin kicks, and, his wrestling was just unbelievable. He was submitting people. Boxing was crisp. When GSP was training at Jackson's, that GSP, you're not in that caliber right now. You're really not. I understand that you want to be and you believe that you are, but you have to win fights in convincing fashion for people to start to like you. That's just what you need to do. Like I said, this is called MMA INSIGHT, a fan's perspective to what's going on in MMA. I'm just a fan. That's it. I'm just a fan. I'm telling you from a fan's perspective what we want to see. We want to see you go out and fight to your potential, do what you need to do, and fight the way that you should fight in order to win. And if you do that, you will start to gain fans. You will start to gain respect to the fans. I know that you probably can give 2 shits about the fans right now. But to be honest with you, if you want these money fights and you want to start actually lining your pockets, you should listen to the fans. Fight your number 1 contender fights. Fight the people who want to fight you. Fight the people in your division. Get some wins together. Then worry about the money fights after that. Then there'll be bigger money fights and the pay-per-view points will be higher, because if you start to win fights and you go out there and you perform and you start to do what you should be doing, a la Robbie Lawler fight, do that 3-4 fights in a row. There's no denying giving you a money fight. Or there's no denying that the fans are going to be on your side because they're going to enjoy watching you knock people out. Conor McGregor, think about it. Everybody said, he's the standard. The reason Conor McGregor was talking that way, Conor McGregor came into the UFC. Conor McGregor knocked out Brimage. Conor McGregor had a war with Max Holloway, but actually was battling with him. Knocked out Brandao, knocked out Dennis Seaver, knocked out Chad Mendez, knocked out Jose Aldo, knocked out Eddie Alvarez. Nate Diaz got choked out, but then came back and dropped him multiple times and went in a 5-round war with him. That's what fans want to see. That's why that guy is making so much money. He's exciting to watch. Every time he comes out, you know that it's going to be a fight. You know you're going to see a knockout. You know that you're going to see some type of war. Something good is going to happen. Even the Mayweather fight. I understand Mayweather, to me it looked like he carried him a little bit. But either way, it was still an exciting fight. You saw the first 5 rounds of the fight where Conor McGregor was throwing punches and landing punches, and it was exciting. It had me on the edge of my seat. That's what people want to see. Not you standing back like this, sprawling, landing one punch, getting out of the way, and just standing. doing your little rush in, throw 2-3 punch combination, get back out, and stand there again. That's not what people want to see. They want to see you knock people out like you did with Dong Young Kim, like you did with Robbie Lawler. That's what people want to see. That, Tyron Woodley. You show people that, Tyron Woodley, and you'll start getting your just due, my man. That's what you need to do. That's pretty much it for now. Please, everybody, like and subscribe to the channel. Right underneath, right there, it says subscribe. Go ahead and press that button. But anyway, like and subscribe to the channel. If there's any questions, please, excuse me. If there's any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Also, I'll be having more gear reviews coming up soon. And another MMA Insight should be coming up also this week, or if not, maybe the beginning of next week. So look out for that. Once again, like I said, like and subscribe to the channel. If there's any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And that's pretty much that. This is Michael from MMA Night and Day, signing out.
Goodbye. Those guys, but there's nobody that's a clear contender right now. It's a lot of people that are talking. Fight that does something for me, that pumps me up, like George St. Pierre, one of the Diaz brothers, the Conor McGregor fight. If it's not one of those fights, then it has to be a clear-cut contender. Who's a clear-cut contender right now? There's not one. So they have to shuffle the deck. You know, you look at Stephen Thompson, who looked great against Masvidal. I've already fought him twice.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to watch me and Maya fight again. You know, Jorge Masvidal, which, you know, could have been a fun fight. Donald Cerrone, which could have been a fun fight. It's just a tough division, man, and you never know how these styles are going to play out. And I've beaten a lot of guys.
Don't be scared, homie.
in the top 10.